We're at the end of the conference right now, and we just want to do a quick recap of what happened throughout ISS 2021.
Yes, thank you. Dear all, it's been a wonderful experience for all of us, especially for us in Łódź and in Poland. We did it for the very first time, so I'm happy we somehow succeeded, I hope. Thank you. Thanks goes to all the participants here on site and magnificent keynote speakers. One really great workshop, and I believe 7 sessions of papers, including full papers that were actually published in PACM HCI and posters and demos, and these a lot of those were really interactive and here and online, so it was really magnificent. We also had a reception on Monday, coupled with our posters and demos, and of course the dinner. So those of you who stayed with us online, that's a pity for you not to be here in Poland. And we had 2 tours that were, as far as I know, really enjoyed. So this is the short summary of what we did. There are some photos with remindings of the first keynote, some city tour, and the interactive presentations that we had. So once again, thank you very much. But now there is a time to announce something more.
Yes, thank you, Andrzej. So for those of you who went to the dinner, I can't see stuff. No.
The pandemic will kill you.
In very pragmatic ways. So for those of you who did not go to the dinner, this was the little comic element for all of you, just to top off the conference. For those of you who didn't go to the dinner, or maybe you're just watching this conference online, we just want to congratulate once again the authors of the papers that received Best Paper Awards. And these were 2 papers towards balancing VR immersion and bystander awareness, and inclusive adaptation of existing board games for gamers with and without visual impairments using a spatial augmented reality framework for touch detection and audio feedback. And we can clap. Let's clap. And we also had 3 honorable mentions. They were type-alike near keyboard hand postures for expanded laptop interaction, the MAID axis, a modular actuated device to embody the axis of a data dimension, and stepper swipe tilt force, comparative evaluation of 4 number pickers for smartwatches. And hopefully the authors of some of these may be watching us, and we just want to inform them that they will all get diplomas, and you will receive those diplomas by mail. So as the conference ends, there's a lot of people to thank for, because we wouldn't be here if it were not for the hard work of many people. And first, we want to thank all the people who were on the conference organizing committee and help us craft the content and the practicalities of this conference. So we want to thank Abdullah, Yasmin, Piotr, Michael, Mark, Lars, Laya, Marion, Miko, Lauren, Yomna, Mai, Julia, Johannes, Fateme, Morten, Marit, Sebastian, Sarah, Krzysztof, Magda, Petra, and Christian for all of their contributions to the conference. But most importantly, what I usually say, and I've heard this from Scooter Morris, who some of you might know, the success of the conference is primarily determined by the success of the student volunteer program, and that was the case also for us. So we want to thank all of our wonderful student volunteers for supporting us before and throughout the conference to making sure this was a successful event. And in particular, we want to thank our student volunteer chairs, Jakob and McCoy, and I also want to ask Jakob to come up for a special announcement. They're actually both coming up, which is great.
Yes, also from my side, and I'll later hand it on to Mikołaj as well. A huge thanks to supporting us, managing this conference, and I know that things might have at some point been a little bit rough, and in this case, I really appreciate also your flexibility with the tasks. And whenever there was need, somebody was there, and this really also helped us in managing the workload that was there. And we have one last award to give to one of you who has been an outstanding SV during this conference, which is Annika Kilian. You get an award. Thank you for all your hard work. There will be some infos also on an SV party for everybody who wants to join. So also a nice opportunity to mingle again and just to reminiscence about this conference as well. I hand it over to Mikołaj as well so he can say something.
Thank you, Jakob. And I would also like to thank all the student volunteers for all your hard work, enthusiasm, and the smiley faces that made this entire conference such a pleasurable and fun experience for us all. Thank you very much.
And I'm back. All right, so another important part of a conference is its finances, and for that we have to thank our sponsors. Wood University of Technology, ACM, the local ACM chapter, the Polish Information Processing Society, and our partner organization, SIGCHI. But first and foremost, we want to thank all of you in this room and all of you watching us virtually, all the regular attendees, all our technical crew supporting us, and all of you who spent the last 4 or 3.5 days with us. You form the ISS community, you are the core of it, and you are also its future. Thank you so much. And as you might expect, a good conference ends with a promise of another conference. And for that, we have prepared a video from you, which comes from Craig Anslow, and this could be a hint of what's up to happen for ISS next year. And I need to try and play the video.
Kia ora katoa. Welcome to ISS 2022. My name is Craig Anslow and I'm one of the general chairs for the conference. The conference will take place in Wellington, Aotearoa, New Zealand. For those that are Lord of the Rings fans, it's also known as Middle Earth. We have some wonderful scenery and lots of things to come and see and do. We look forward to seeing you in about 12 months' time. Ka kite.
Yeah, I'm flying to a conference, actually.
Down under, to Wellington.
New Zealand, yeah. Somewhere I've always wanted to go.
They've got some really engaging speakers lined up.
And I think there's going to be an opportunity to make a lot of new connections.
All the events are within walking distance. I did bring my shoe. Yeah, I did.
The facilities are state-of-the-art, world-class.
It's going to be so good to get like a complete change of scenery.
See new things. Be exposed to different ways of thinking.
Upskill as much as I can. Check out some different experiences.
And Wellington's so central, it's the perfect springboard to see the rest of New Zealand.
I can't wait.
Should be unforgettable.
Actually, they're calling my flight now.
I'll talk to you soon.
Safe journey.
Okay, so that gives you a little bit of introduction about the conference and specifically the city. And so the conference will take place here in Wellington. This is what it looks like from the other perspective. It's usually pretty sunny. It can be a little bit windy, as you've seen. The conference will take place here on the right-hand side of this image. That's where the business school of my university is at. In the middle there, you see a whole bunch of tall buildings. That's the central business district. That's still within about 10 minutes walk from the conference venue. A little bit further to the left is the entertainment district, where the bars and restaurants and so on are. And that's where the National Museum is, which I'll point out to you in a minute. Most of downtown's pretty flat, and but you can also see there's lots of hills in the background. So it's quite a hilly, mountainous kind of region. So there's lots of walking and up and down hills to see some beautiful vistas of the city. And so you're welcome to go and have a walk while you're at the conference. Just a little bit of note, Wellington was ranked the #1 most livable city in the world, according to Deutsche Bank a couple of years ago. Look at wellingtonnz.com for further information. So we have a national museum called Te Papa, which is in Wellington, and this is the place where you can find a lot of history about the early part of our country and a lot of the indigenous culture from our local indigenous people called Maori. And you can see a lot of heritage around their iwis and their crafts and so on. Plus there's a lot of modern day exhibits, such as the ones you can see on the right here, which is called Our Space, which is very applicable to ISS in terms of the type of work that we do in the community. This particular exhibit had a series of large touch screens and screens that will enable you to interact with digital imagery that you can capture yourself with little Wii-like remotes. Unfortunately, the exhibit's been taken down, but it did last for a number of years, and it was very resonant of what we do in the ISS community. So something to take forward and go and have a look at. The museum's free to visit, and there's a very good souvenir store in there to get souvenirs. We plan to have potentially one event at the conference. I'm still in negotiation with them, potentially an evening event as a part of a welcome to the conference. So we'll just see how that plays out. Wellington is also known as the home of Middle Earth, and as part of that is a company called Weta, who are a large video effects and film-based company, have produced many films. Some of the ones that you'll be very familiar with, like Lord of the Rings, Avatar, King Kong, among others. They have a little workshop and cave museum that you can go and visit, and it's free to attend, but they also have some tours that you can see behind the scenes. As part of the conference, we plan to organize some excursions to go and see that during the conference, but you're also welcome to go and do it on your own as well. There's also a significant number of sites within Wellington, which we used as film sites in the Lord of the Rings too. They're currently filming the Avatar film series at the moment. So the conference will be taking place next to this building, which is the government buildings of New Zealand. And you can see here the circular type building called the Beehive. That's where where the government sits. And the building on the right is where Parliament is, where the legislation is discussed and debated. And on the front lawn there is where you can see all the protesters happen and other outdoor activities at the government. So it's within a couple of minutes walk of the conference venue, just across the road. So the conference venue itself is at my business school, which has a modern day lecture theatres, just a few years old, and there's a whole bunch of breakout rooms where we will have some of the workshops and some of the demo sessions and other things such as that. It's right next to the train station and bus station, so it's right in the heart of the city, so it's a very easy place to get to depending on where you want to stay or what you want to go and visit and do. So here's a little map of that I quickly drew to give you an idea of where things are in the city. So the top right is the conference venue, on the left is the government buildings of New Zealand, and then a big long rectangle in the middle is where the CBD is and the hotels. That's not quite accurate there, but it's more or less that space that I've drawn there. On the left is the cable car, the little imagery behind me, and the bit where I was taking a video before, so you can go up and down a cable car to get an electric ride up to the top and have some beautiful vistas of the city. Also up there is the Botanical Gardens, and close by is the main university of Victoria University of Wellington, where I work. And bottom right is where the Te Papa Museum is, and you can actually walk from the conference venue to Te Papa. It's about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how fast you walk. And you can walk along the waterfront. It's a really nice walks. It's highly encourage people to go and do that, particularly if it's a very nice sunny and warm day. We'll be in autumn, so the weather somewhere between 15 and 20 degrees Celsius. Could be windy, so make sure you bring a rain jacket. Entertainment district is down below there, so there's lots of bars and restaurants and other areas to go and socialize and hang out. And then the airport is only about 15 minutes away by taxi or Uber or those kinds of transportation modes, and public transport is also doable too, which is slightly longer, but less than half an hour. So introducing a few people that is going to make this conference happen. So obviously I've introduced myself. I'm Craig from Victoria University of Wellington. I'll be one of the general chairs along with Judy Kay, who's kindly volunteered from the University of Sydney in Australia, so very close, only about 3 hours away. We'll be organising the event, and then alongside us will be the program chairs and the PACM Editor, which will be Mark Hancock, continuing in that role from the University of Waterloo in Canada. And the program chairs will be Hans Christian Jetter, University of Lübeck in Germany, and also Jim Wallace from the University of Waterloo in Canada as the other program chair. That will be for the first round that's coming up, and dates to be determined. There'll be potentially another person take over from the round after that. There are other roles on the committee. We haven't finalised and sorted them all out yet. So we are reaching out to various people in the community to help me in the conference. As part of the conference, we plan to have a couple of co-located events. The first one being the Australian Conference on Human-Computer Interaction, also known as AUSCHI. So it's a regional conference for HCI, so it's an ACM conference. We plan to have that the days following after ISS, so 24th to the 26th in the same venue. And then following that, we're planning to have an HCI school, a masterclass. I can't really call it a spring because it's only spring in New Zealand. If you're coming from North America, it won't be spring, it might be autumn, and it's definitely not summer. So that'll be for a few days afterwards. Details still to be determined on that event. So how do you get here? So there are a whole bunch of flights. And so here's some pre-COVID details. It's not clear what will be happening in about 12 months' time. But from North America, there's flights from the West Coast, which is for approximately 12 to 16 hours. From Asia, there's a whole bunch of flights from Japan and China, cities in those countries, and then Dubai, Singapore, and Bangkok, and they range from 12 to 17 hours. If you're coming from Europe, you pretty much have to go via North America or Asia, and that can be up to about 30 hours, depending on how many stops you have. That's going direct, but you can get it down to about 23, 24 minimum I've seen. From Australia, there's a whole bunch of direct flights to Wellington via Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. Occasionally there's other places, but those are the ones that are typical. And that's approximately 4 hours, but sometimes a little bit less. I'd highly suggest you're going to have a look at Air New Zealand. It's the flight carrier of New Zealand that we've been ranked the #1 airline many years in a row. In terms of accommodation, this is sort of give you an idea of a budget. So budget accommodation is $35 to $70 a night. 3 stars, about $100 a night, and 4 stars is up to $200 a night. Have a look at the website for more information. We may sort out a conference accommodation to get some discounted rates, but that's to be determined. So beyond Wellington, while you come to New Zealand, there's so much to go and see. Our country is a bit larger than the UK in terms of geographical size. So there's lots of outdoor things to do. So this is one of the most popular places to go and visit, deep in the South Island, the Milford Sounds. It's like the fjords in Norway, if you've been familiar with those. Very cool. Other awesome places, outdoors, mountains, beaches, landscapes, very remote places, and lots of sea life and animals to go and see. To wrap up, kete te manako matua kia kete koe. I'd like to say we'd look forward to seeing you at ACM ISS in Wellington, New Zealand from the 20th to the 23rd of November 2022. Thanks very much.